How's it going, everybody? It is Wednesday, October 25th. This is the RambleCast. I am Cody Toombs, and we are going solo today. No Corbin around. It happens from time to time. Oh, awesome. Yeah. If only the Middle East could be solved. Sadly, there is, I am convinced, no solution short of giving every single one of them a Tootsie Pop. You ask how that would work? I don't know yet, but I'm pretty sure if you gave every person in the Middle East a Tootsie Pop, solved. Somehow. Watch Zach randomly pop in. I mean, it's not impossible. Though technically, I guess if that were to happen, I would need the I would need chat open. Though, just for giggles, we'll open that up. Who knows? Maybe Corbin will pop in at random. I don't think you actually can, but you never know. Web 4.0 will solve it all. Well, 3.0 couldn't do much. Let's see if a version update will solve anything. Speaking of version updates, they're, for whatever reason, actually no, there were for good reasons, some updates this week. Smooth transition, I know. But let's see. I guess actually we probably should get straight into it because there are a lot of topics, and hopefully I won't destroy my voice talking about all of them. But so for version updates, macOS Sonoma. And yes, I know there were other things, but this is the one I'm going to tackle. It's funny to me because when you actually look at the list, it is disappointingly short. But yeah, it's 14.1. They improved the favorites section in music, further proving that if Apple knew what it was doing, it would roll these out as app updates and not OS updates. They added a warranty status for a few Apple products, which good. But one, I thought they actually already had that. Maybe I'm mistaken. And two, this was technically a thing you could just look at on the website. You had to type in some codes and stuff, but it wasn't hard to look up. Let's see. Fixes an issue with the system services settings within location services. It could reset. Yeah, not super exciting. Just a bug fix. And something that could prevent external encrypted drives from mounting. Honestly, not super exciting. Like, this is maybe one of the more disappointing updates in the sense that there are known Wi-Fi bugs still kicking around on at least some devices. I seem to recall hearing that there was also a memory bug that was bothering some people. I don't know much about that, but yeah, no mention of either of those. I don't know. Maybe they were fixed. Maybe they weren't. But yeah, so it was an update. It happened. Carson 14 has been stable for you. So far it's been pretty stable for me. I gave in and updated. I updated thinking 14.1 was already in RC, and I thought, oh yeah, okay, it's going to come out within the next couple of days. That was like 2 weeks ago. Maybe, was it possibly longer? I don't know. Anyway, I updated. I haven't had any problems with, or sorry, actually, that's not entirely true. I have had a couple of problems, but they're not big issues. It's more just annoyances. For example, one of the things that they added, well, not added, it's been there, but they tweaked it. Let's move that back. Um, in 14.0, if you open something like OBS, it will actually put a icon in your in the status bar that shows that it's sharing a window. Well, sorry, I say open OBS, but it's if OBS is actually sharing a window, as I do, of course, for these streams, it puts up an icon showing that it's sharing a window. The problem is, it doesn't go away when you quit OBS. It just stayed open. And since, you know, like most people, I don't reboot my computer all the time, it's just an icon that would sit up there perpetually. Like, it basically was always up there. So, yeah, that's one little bug that has kind of been annoying me. It's not terrible, and every once in a while it does fix itself properly, but it's rare. So, yeah, that's a thing. It's dumb. Let's see. Google makes an RCS ad about bringing the Middle East together. Oh my god, yes. Yes. Please. This is a thing Google should absolutely do. Because, of course, like in every conceivable way, that would just totally miss the mark. Because let's be honest, they use WhatsApp too. Let's do it. We can get canceled by Google together. Hey, who knows? My subscriber numbers have been going up, so I'm on track to either be a sure thing target for cancellation, or I'm on track to become immune to cancellation. We'll see how quickly I rise. If, after all, if Sniper Wolf has proven anything to us, and for anyone who doesn't know what I'm referring to right there, oh my god, I'm so jealous of you. So jealous of you. But if Sniper Wolf has proven anything, it's that some people can just become immune to anything, evidently. Who needs to be punished by Google, YouTube, or California law? Anyway, I have a feeling Diablo knows what I'm referring to. Yeah, so anyway, let's see. Who do we want to beat up on first? Oh, I gotta save that one for later. Oh, okay, well, we'll talk about other big companies and them doing stupid things. So right out of the gate, or I guess not out of the gate, we already tackled Apple with one small thing. We'll be coming back to Apple, I promise. But let's go to Microsoft. So, and thanks Carson for dropping all the links into the channel, or into the chat, that I could possibly have asked for. There are a couple more in here, but yeah. Anyway, so Microsoft has started now harassing people to answer a poll when you download Chrome. Which is just such a weird, cringy act. This is yet another step towards the how can we talk people out of downloading Chrome and to still use Edge. Pretty soon, I swear, it might start having to become a thing where people just keep an Edge installer, or sorry, not Edge, but a Chrome installer on a USB key, just so they can avoid visiting the Chrome website and, you know, jumping through what will likely become the are you really sure? We're only going to ask you 17 times type of dialogues Microsoft is on their way to harassing you with. Diablo, not sure anyone really cares, and we'll select random answers. Honestly, yeah, I'm sure a lot of people will get to that point. And some of these reasons, I love this. So, we love having you. Or the poll begins by saying, we love having you. Can you please take a minute to tell us why you're trying another browser? Some of these answers are hilarious. So I can't search Google easily. Really? Really? No, nobody, no one can change. I kind of understand, like, some people don't know that they can change the default search engine, but really? Nobody figured out how to open google.com by typing it into the search bar. I know there are people out there who have a problem with this. Not even kidding. There are people. I've seen this. Literally, I have seen this firsthand. I thought this was a joke, and when I first heard about it, and then I actually, a few years later, encountered one. People who search for Google on Bing. They actually do that. People will type in Google, just Google, the word Google, or the name, into the search bar. Then, when it pops up with google.com as a search result, they click on that so that they can then search on Google instead of on Bing. There are people who do this. It's real. It pains me to think that this exists, but yep, the world has proven there's always a lower point. Let's see. They want people to select that to show the EU. Actually, I imagine that's probably true. Carson, you know people who have Chrome set up so it goes to Google every time they open it, or as like a homepage. Yeah, I know people who do that. That one I don't mind. It's not how I would choose to do it. I like having a nice clean like non-page homepage. But hey, each to their own. I'm not gonna object. Let's see. The next one. I can't access my Google document. What is that? Edge should have no trouble with this. It's weird to me that their poll even sort of accidentally implies that's the reason. Let's see. Don't have my favorites or passwords here. That's actually a perfectly good excuse. Granted, I know with relative confidence that you can port all of those things over using Edge. At least I think you can do passwords. I know you can do favorites. Or really bookmarks would be the better term in my opinion, but whatever. Too many ads and pop-ups. Again, why should this be a thing that they're asking about for Edge? One would assume it should be the same, but if you're having this problem on Edge and you don't expect to have it on Chrome, that's a sign Edge has... that Microsoft is getting too abusive with Edge. Again, these are questions that, if these are the reasons people are leaving Edge and going to Chrome, it is a sign. If anyone picks any of these things, well, not any of these, but at least the first one and the fourth one, it's a sign that you're doing something wrong with Edge in a big way. Or sorry, the second one and the fourth one. Though, arguably the first and third also. Let's see. I don't like the news feed as a reason. That's, yeah, okay. You know, that one's actually kind of reasonable. It's too slow. All right, that one, I think we all know. As browsers just kind of build up cruft and extensions and stuff like that, some get to be slower. That one's kind of a more reasonable thing. I get it. But still. Let's see. My websites don't work on Microsoft Edge. With the rare exception of a few things that are built very specifically to work with Chrome, this one shouldn't really come up as an answer. And my reason is not listed. Yeah, who knows. But too many of these leave me with that thought of, wow, Microsoft, if you have these, if anyone's answering like half of these things, it's really a bad sign for Edge, and pretty much a sign that you're doing something very wrong if people have that perception of a browser that is fundamentally, it is just Chrome, but compiled by a different company and with a couple of little tweaks. It's not really that big of a difference. But yeah, people apparently are not super thrilled with Edge for whatever reason. And I mean, again, if you're getting these things, that's a problem. That being said, I would point out, and this kind of gives that little bit of a hint up above, or well, sort of a hint. I have this nagging suspicion that as they slowly, well, I guess, was this one? No, where was it? I just saw it. Am I blind? One of these things mentioned Copilot, or I thought it did. Anyway, the fact that Microsoft is slowly creeping more and more AI stuff into all of its products. Did I imagine seeing it, or am I just blind now? But as Microsoft tries to inch more and more AI stuff into everything, oh, there it is in the screenshot. I just was looking at the wrong spot. I was looking at the top of the screenshot, not at the bottom. Anyway, as they slowly add more and more of that stuff to the browser, I can kind of see why there might be more and more arguments for people to leave Edge. Anyway, let's see. In comments, Carson, you've seen someone just type Google into the Chrome Omnibar, click the first link, and then search for stuff. Oh yeah, I've definitely seen people do that. But it's funny to me that I've seen people doing it on like even old Windows installs, or well, relatively old, where they have Edge and they open it up so that they can go, or they open Edge, search through the Omnibar, it goes to Bing, and then they click through Bing to go to Google so that they can then do a Google search. And they usually don't actually have a good reason why they're doing a search on Google instead of Bing. They just are. Let's see. Bard with Assistant in Chrome is coming soon. I don't actually know if that's true. I assume you're telling me it's true. And I expect it, yeah, honestly. Like, I don't see any reason that won't happen. And yeah, that's probably going to... I'm not going to call it a disaster, but I'm not holding hope for the best results of that. We shall see. Not true? Okay. But honestly, like, I kind of don't see any reason to think it won't happen. I'm sure Google doesn't really want the added cost, but at the same time, I think they want to be competing on that same sort of feature parity with everybody else. Well, everyone else being Microsoft in this case. And if they're going to do that, they probably will add it to Chrome. Like, it actually makes sense. So we'll see. Fingers crossed, I guess. But yeah, so this just seems like such a bad move. This poll is almost just inviting people to ask, like, how much is wrong with Edge that these are some of the options? Carson, none of these generative AIs are profitable, right? So I honestly don't know about ChatGPT now. It might be. Somebody would have to say for sure. If it's not profitable, it has to be relatively close, because they're charging a lot of people for a lot of stuff, and Microsoft is running a lot of their stuff through it, and they're funding ChatGPT to be doing this. So I think a lot of it probably, or I think that one might be like profitable from the perspective of, like, they are managing to make money. It may not be in all the right ways or the ways that we'd like to think that a company should make money, but I have a feeling that they are managing to build profit. And when you talk about generative AIs, I think, yeah, exactly. It's business licenses, not not regular consumer licenses or subscriptions. It's definitely the business side of it. But also when you're talking about generative AI, I assume you're talking mostly about chatbots, whereas image generative AI, I think at this stage, that's actually successful. I could be wrong. I could be very wrong, but I think a few of them have actually been making some money. Um, I don't know that DALL-E is yet. It's hard to say with that one. I haven't seen any signs people are paying significant amounts there. But let's see, Midjourney. I always have to think, wait, is it Midjourney or Stable Diffusion? But I believe Midjourney is actually profitable. Because they have a lot of subscribers, and the amount that the subscribers pay is pretty high. And I could be mistaken, but I don't think they're doing freebies anymore. Let's see. And then then I would also add in, I don't think Adobe's thing is currently profitable, but it's already linked to a subscription. So I think they're trying to get people hooked, because this is Adobe's move. They love to get people hooked on their products and then charge more. And I expect Adobe is going to be ramping up the price on the usage of their AI pretty soon. They did say for sure they are going to do that. I just don't know when it's going to begin. And I don't remember. I don't think we ever talked about what the price was going to be, or how it was going to work. I believe we already know it's going to be based on credits that you get through the subscription, and then when you need more credits, you can just buy them. But yeah, I think Adobe's going to be one of those where they're going to be very profitable with their AI. But if they're smart, they better hurry up too. Honestly, they need to hurry up, because I think a lot of other companies are really building up and preparing to push similar things. And if Adobe doesn't monopolize on this quick, it's going to be rough. Hey, Brawl. The WAV files are still here. But yeah, let's see. I know a few other companies have like based their entire products on being AI in some way, shape, or form. So there's somebody out there who's like, some of the smaller companies have to be making money through their subscriptions, because I don't think that they're because they don't offer like freebies. It just makes sense that they're probably not trying to build user base so much as they're trying to actually be relatively profitable out of the gate. And so I think a lot of them are actually making money too. But like large scale profitability, honestly, I think ChatGPT is the only one that can claim that, because they have such a large, like, business based licensing scheme. And to be fair, I'm not sure what large scale profitability looks like in this case. They could still be in sort of the building acquisition phase. It's always tough to tell with things like that. Let's see. You just joined in where we're talking about ChatGPT. No, that was more of a coincidence. Believe me, it doesn't actually get a lot of mentions on here, really at all. Mostly because there's no reason to. But let's see. No, this is more just, we started talking about Edge, or Microsoft doing the cringy answer a poll for us about why you're downloading Chrome. But yeah, I think we wrapped that one. Moving on to the latest from Qualcomm, because this was kind of, I dare say, the news of the week. You're wondering how Google is going to make Bard profitable. Honestly, I don't think they are. I think Bard's whole purpose is to become Assistant 2.0 or Assistant 3.0. That's it. Honestly, I really just don't think that Bard has a goal outside of that. Keep in mind, Google does have other AIs, and some of those are already being licensed or are going to be licensed. I'm not really sure where they are in this whole scheme, but Carson. Okay, I haven't read the R's one. To be fair, I wasn't going to go so much off of this as what I've heard from other people, and I'll talk about that in a moment, kind of. Anyway, yeah, as far as Bard goes, honestly, I really just think that it's the next step in Assistant. Love it or hate it, I think it's just straight up they want to make Assistant more capable, and so they're just going to kind of replace the Assistant with Bard, and it's just basically going to be that, or sort of building on Assistant using Bard. As far as the other AIs that Google's working on, those I think will be the ones that get licensed to businesses. There'll be another part of like the Google Cloud products, stuff like that. Could be wrong. Obviously, like, there are different ways that they could go with it, but that to me sounds like kind of the most reasonable path for them. What the hell? Let's see. Sorry, I just realized I want to finish some app updates on that phone and then let it get shut down for another month or two. Let's see. Metric Brawl. 3 fun facts. Your PC is dead. Your Windows USB is dead. Uh-oh. And you bought a Windows Vita era system? Or Vista. Yikes. Man, I cringe at the thought of that. Let's see. Bard just became a subscription-based AI girlfriend in 2025. Oh boy, I wish that wasn't likely to become a thing. I don't think it'll be Bard specifically, but let's be honest, like that's going to become so much of a common thing. It really is. Let's see. So, all right. Carson brings up that the R's article, it covers it better. And I will grant, fully acknowledging this. You read the Verge article, and this is they're not pulling punches on the fact that this is not the greatest way to announce a product. They put up a chart that only has information or only has numbers on one axis. That's not really a good move. We've seen Apple do it, and people rightfully criticize Apple for it. So when Qualcomm does it, we should probably do the same. And you read through this, and it's basically The Verge being hot, or well, Monica Chin, I was gonna say. It's basically her, and I would argue it. This is probably a shared opinion across a lot of The Verge. They're skeptical. The quick summary of this is Qualcomm announced yesterday, a whole bunch of new stuff for the Snapdragon technology platforms. Let's call it that. This includes, and we'll be getting to this in a little bit, their new Snapdragon Sound, or their additions to Snapdragon Sound, which I was technically pre-briefed on but I didn't end up writing anything about it. But yeah, we'll get to that momentarily. One of the other things that they talked about is the Snapdragon X Elite, which is a it's a desktop class processor that they are basically claiming is going to take on, let's see, I believe it is the current Core i7. Will actually outperform a Core i7. It is supposed to beat the Ryzen 9 7940HS on GPU benchmarks. And if I recall, I believe it is rumored that it's supposed to be able to... Yeah, they claim that it's 50% faster on peak multi-threaded performance. So basically when it is clocked up to its max. Than Apple's M2 chip. So in all of these the weird thing is sometimes comments do work, but yeah, that's actually a good point. I should just fix this. It will take me just a moment to... It's gonna look man. The screwy thing is this almost doesn't do any good. You'll see why in a moment. But okay, so there. The only thing that's because The Verge does their size limiting thing, or it caps the max width of the page. All this really accomplishes is moving it out from, or moving it so that my head isn't blocking some of the text. But yeah, that's a fair point. The weird thing is, every once in a while Streamlabs comments do start working again, so they'll probably show up. I should just turn them off or remove them, but I haven't yet. That, or one of these days, I should probably just build my bot so that it does the same thing. I really could, and it would work better than Streamlabs. Streamlabs thing is actually terrible. Because it doesn't handle emoji very well. It does goofy things with a lot of symbols. It doesn't know how to handle if a message is removed for any reason, like redacted messages. So yeah, I could actually do that stuff with a bot. I haven't yet, but we'll get there, maybe, hopefully, someday. So yeah, anyway, I was pre-briefed on the sound stuff. Other people I know, I'm not going to name them to protect the guilty, but other people I know were pre-briefed on actually quite a bit of this stuff. And let's just say they got to look into it very, very closely. And the going statement, and it's funny because The Verge literally posted this in their social media posts, but not in the article. At least I don't think it was used in the article. Yeah, it wasn't. But the going line I heard multiple people saying before publication date was big if true. And literally every single person I talked to about this had the same comment of, it would be amazing if Qualcomm can pull this off, but we absolutely do not think they will. We're pretty sure they're full of crap. And here's the thing. No one would be wrong for thinking this, because Qualcomm has a history of being really full of crap. Like, this is actually a really, really long-standing history. They embellish a lot. They're constantly embellishing. Every single Snapdragon chip, if you look at their history, has been like, yeah, well, you know, it would be true if it were true. And it's never true. So I'm skeptical. I feel pretty justified in being skeptical. Um, so I don't know what this really means yet, but sorry, I sit here and just I can't help but wonder how much of this will actually come true, and I just don't think it's going to be that much. That being said, any step up from where Qualcomm was, let's say even a year ago, but more importantly, a few years ago when they first started trying to do laptop tier processors to run Windows, the fact of the matter is, those were horrible. They were absolute garbage. As long as Qualcomm comes to the table with something that is reasonable, you know, it doesn't have to be great, but at least compete with some like some of the last generation i5s, and you're at least on the board. If it matches M1 or M2, that would be big. No kidding. If it matches M1 or M2, like that's saying a lot. I mean, that's still leapfrogging a lot of what Intel has been able to put out so far. I would say, by my standard, I think if they can put out something that is comparable to last year's, or whatever the previous generation i5 is, it at least puts Qualcomm on the board. If they can match current generation i5 or i7, that's excellent. Right there, you're on. You have a product you can sell. And when I say match, I mean match in terms of performance and presumably at a better power usage. Because at this stage, if your marketing is ARM and your power usage is terrible, then you don't have much of a you're not really making a good argument for why you should make people work on on an architecture that's going to have less support. You have to have something that's better in some way. So you need to either match on performance and deliver better battery life, or you need to match on battery life and offer better performance. One or the other. And price has to also factor in here. So as far as I see it, as long as they can compete on price, as long as they can compete with something somewhere, they have a product that can sell. And that is the important part here. Whether or not they're going to do that, I'm sorry, I'm skeptical. I don't think that's a wrong position to be in. So, and if their claim, or if they're sort of like half claim, because The Verge is not wrong. They're bragging about faster peak performance compared to an Apple M2 chip. But seeing as how, as The Verge rightly points out, they have 50% more cores than the M2, that's not necessarily saying a lot. It may or may not be, because the M2 also doesn't clock up to peak performance the same way. Or at least we would assume not. So yeah, there's a lot of weird choices in how they approach this. Now, as far as what the Ars article says, I haven't had time to read it. Carson only dropped the link in shortly before, and I didn't get a chance to read everything in some of the others either. But I do expect that their coverage is probably a lot better. You can actually, if nothing else, you can tell because they're certainly including a lot more of the graphics that Qualcomm shared. But, and of course they are explaining a lot more of it. Actually, quite a bit more of it. But, that said, oh, wait a second. Is this getting into... Oh, no, it doesn't. Okay, good. I was going to say, wait, are they also including all of the announcements? Because if they got stuff about sound in here, then they're definitely padding the article. But nope, they didn't. Regardless, I I can't shake the feeling that this is a lot of embellishment. But if they can at least hit the ground with something that is competitive with current stuff, and presumably with some battery savings, this is good. That is a good place to be in. I don't know how they're going to. It's not that I. Okay, let's discuss Apple in this situation now. One of the things that I think a lot of people I've seen people talk about Qualcomm processors in a few different lights. And of course, the same conversations have been had about Intel and AMD. The way everyone talks about Apple's processors right now is interesting. Everyone talks about them as if they're some sort of magical silicon that cannot be beaten. The practical reality is that is just totally ridiculous. Everyone talks about like how skeptical they are that anyone is going to beat Apple's M chips. I don't see why. There's no practical argument for why that would be the case. One company did a lot of really, really good engineering, and they made some very fast processors. Guess what? Other companies can do a lot of engineering and make some really fast processors. There's no reason that can't be everybody else. Now, Apple has a few infrastructure advantages in the sense that they make an operating system that runs on their chips. They don't really let other operating systems run on their chips without, some complicated abstractions. And they're not trying to make something with their OSs that would run on multiple different types of chips outside of course, Mac OS having a branch that runs on Intel and another branch that runs on Apple Silicon. When you factor in those advantages, yes, it does give Apple's products an advantage, but the chips themselves are actually just really good. But again, there's nothing stopping other companies from either mimicking what Apple's done or possibly exceeding it. I mean, one of the news items this week, and I actually forgot to even open it as one of the topics, NVIDIA wants to make desktop processors now. This is something that they're evidently going to start doing, or at least they're considering. There's no reason they can't or shouldn't, and they will be ARM-based. And let's be honest, if you look at NVIDIA, show of hands, who doesn't think NVIDIA would be possibly very good at this? Because as it turns out, they're incredibly good at making GPUs. Not to say that it is the same equation, because holy crap, GPUs that practically require their own separate power supplies. That's maybe not the kind of thing that you want to talk about in terms of how much a processor is going to take, but we are talking about a company that is capable of doing some really hardcore, complicated engineering, and they're very good at it. So, we have no real good argument for why this can't be done by other companies. So, could Qualcomm do it? Sure, maybe. But if we're going on Qualcomm's history, I struggle with that. And that's where I'm skeptical about Qualcomm. Is their history has shown that they, again, love to embellish. They love to make pretty bold claims, and then when the real hardware actually comes out, people test it and go, didn't you say it was going to do this? And in reality, like, here's what our tests say it does. What's the rub? And Qualcomm never seems to really respond to that. I don't know. At least I don't recall ever hearing of Qualcomm responding. Maybe they have and I missed it, but yeah. Anyway, Without having gone into all the details that ours might have discussed, my take on this is be hopeful, because we should be. We should want to see desktop processors, well, desktop and laptop processors moving forward. This is, if any of what Qualcomm is claiming is true, then this is a great mark. I am a little sketched out by the idea of Qualcomm becoming basically like the top only option outside of Apple in terms of like high performing processors with low power requirements, and just generally being like the best options for people. I kind of want to see a different company taking that position, and I'm not sure that even Nvidia is the one I would want to see doing that, but various options would be good. Let's see, Diablo. And I wonder if Google would want to use it in Chromebooks too. They scrapped those other Qualcomm plans. Yeah, actually, let me hit Google in a second, because I have similar questions. And I might be able to ramble my way into an answer for some of them. But, yeah, basically my thinking and thought process on this is we should be optimistic about what might happen with Qualcomm and these processors, but I don't feel like we should be so optimistic as to expect anything big. We should hope that they can accomplish what they're claiming, and in reality, let's just expect them to deliver, half of this. When real benchmarks actually hit, where like sort of real life testing can be done, let's see what those results are, because then we'll know. That will be a lot more telling than any of the charts that Qualcomm gave us. The charts Qualcomm gave us are aspirational. That's it. I would just chalk it all up to being aspirational. Actually, really quick, out of curiosity, Qualcomm stock. I have to know. Oh, crap. I did not expect that. I thought they would get a boost out of announcing something really big. They tanked. I mean, not tanked, but holy crap. Carson, expect disappointment and you'll never be disappointed. I know, right? So I guess the stock market does not have high hopes for Qualcomm either. That is harsh. Man. Buy the dip. I know, right? This is some bad stonks, bro. Is there like a nope? Okay. We have to go back to 6 months to find where there was actually like some rise. Man, the last month is carried well, and then they're just like, yeah, no, let's just lose a bunch of money. Wow. And okay, that's not terrible, but it's not good. I wonder if this was a case where a whole bunch of people bought into Qualcomm thinking, oh, hey, they have an announcement, and then they didn't see the price going up, and so they're like, oh yeah, okay, if the price hasn't gone up yet, let's just drop, let's just sell it all, get rid of it, because obviously they're not going to have a big boost. And that happened. Like it just turned out to be a flop. So they calling bull. I mean, the stock market is a weird beast. It loves to kind of it doesn't reward you for doing something good. You have to do something that is big to be rewarded in the stock market. And evidently, whatever Qualcomm did was not big enough. That would be my takeaway on this. Which right now means they just didn't talk about AI nearly enough. Though, is it mentioned in here? I thought it was. Let's see. No, I guess not. Somewhere I saw that AI was supposed to be a big part of this chip too. Qualcomm's Hexagon Neural Processing Unit, the NPU, also makes a turn for AI and machine learning tasks that can't as easily be accelerated by a CPU or GPU. Okay, so they did talk about it, but the thing is, I saw in the press materials, they definitely talked up their AI stuff. They didn't give anything firm. They really avoided giving firm details. But they definitely did address AI. Let's see. Carson bringing up... yeah. So... Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 is a big, medium, little core config on device Gen AI and, quote, seamless continuity. Yeah, the seamless continuity thing is... yeah, I'm sorry, I think it's kind of BS, but okay, so yeah, they are talking up some AI stuff. One of these days I want to see what the hardware actually is doing to really power AI, because we've obviously seen a lot of talk about that, and in some of the cases, what Google is doing with it makes sense. I'm a little I'm more curious what the other sort of generic the generic processing units are supposedly able to do. I don't understand what they're doing, because in order to power a lot of AI stuff, you need the hardware to be kind of specific about it, and I don't know what you can do in a general sense. Yeah. So, my hunch is, though, that the stock can probably be attributed to the fact that no one's covering the AI announcements. And at least based on the pre-briefing I got with Snapdragon Sound, just frankly, no, they mention AI a few times, but gave absolutely no good indication of what it's supposed to do. So I find myself highly skeptical about whatever happened here. I think Qualcomm probably just, they dropped the ball because they needed to talk about AI if they wanted their stocks to go up. Strictly speaking, this actually might have been, the funny thing is, it might actually be a good move that they got their stocks to fall, because now it's a good time to buy, and then they can do some AI announcements in like a month, and all of a sudden the stock will go through the roof. Of course, if they really want their stock to go up, all they have to do is announce that they're going to make GPUs that are competitive with NVIDIA. Just claim that you're going to. You don't have to actually release them. Just say that you're making them, and all of a sudden your stock would be like 120. Anyway. So, let's see. Regarding Snapdragon Sound, I wonder if The Verge even uses that. Oh, yeah, okay, they do. The next Snapdragon Sound platform, as they say. So there were, honestly, I don't know that I remember all four of the things, but there were four key details to the next Snapdragon Sound upgrade. And one of the biggest ones, actually the only one that I think was really significant, was support for Wi-Fi. So basically, this is sound streaming over Wi-Fi instead of over Bluetooth. It is exactly what it sounds like. They're just switching protocols. Or, well, yeah, switching protocols and antenna types. They claim that this will enable Wi-Fi on earbuds. I'm calling total BS because no one is going to want the power consumption on earbuds. That is not a good idea. So I mean, who knows? Maybe there's some version of this where it makes sense, but I just am not. I don't think it's going to. It's, yeah, I just don't buy it. The Chromecast audio headphones have finally arrived. That would be kind of neat, actually. But yeah, some of their claims were way too ambitious. But what I think we're going to see is this is going to really amp up the idea of using speakers on Wi-Fi for like live streamed music as opposed to something that's cacheable from streaming services. And this will push Bluetooth further out of the equation. Hopefully. And believe me, I'm very much in favor of pushing Bluetooth out of every equation. Then I think the other factor in this is headphones. Headphones like I'm wearing right now. That granted, these are connected wired. Yay, because wired is always kind of wonderful. But they also support wireless, and the wireless they support is Bluetooth. But look, headphones have plenty of space for a big ass antenna. There's no reason you can't put a huge Wi-Fi antenna into your headphones, so why not? And if you're gonna do that, and they pretty much always have the batteries to support running on Wi-Fi. So yeah, give me Wi-Fi to my headphones. I'm fully on board for this. I can't actually think of a reason to say no to that. Let's see, some of the other things that were promised in the Snapdragon Sound platform. Apparently there is another new codec. I didn't get anything that is useful detail there because basically it's just another promise that they're going to make it even more special. They also promised, and this was the AI bit, they promised that they were going to make better adaptive noise canceling, both for the microphone and for noise canceling for when you are listening to music and you don't want outside noise to interrupt, and also noise canceling through microphones. They say that that's going to be more AI based, and to that I say, yeah, we've seen it before. Prove that you can do something somehow better. Because they didn't have any examples, they didn't have anything to demonstrate really what proves it. They just kind of said it's gonna be better. So it didn't really sound too compelling as it stands. And what was their other thing? Also, wait, what? Qualcomm's announcing the S7 and S7 Pro, the platform. That wasn't even part of my pre-briefing. God damn, I hate these guys. Sometimes I really hate these guys. They didn't include any of this in the press release that they gave to us. Or at least not to me. Or there was no mention of an S7. That name was not anywhere in there. I read through it a couple of times and that just was not part of it. So that's sus. Let's see, did they mention anything else? Again, there were 4 things and I don't remember what the other thing was. I think it was, maybe it was just a promise of lower battery usage. I could be wrong. Regardless, having read through this, I came away basically going, okay, they're promising Wi-Fi audio. That was it. Like, everything else that they mentioned sounded really unimportant. It was a new codec that they're going to license for a very high price. It was AI that they promised will be in there so that they could promise they have something with AI. And again, something else. And whatever the other thing was, it wasn't important. It basically just came down to, yeah, Wi-Fi audio. Which is good. Yes, let's have Wi-Fi audio. The only reason, or the only really good argument against Wi-Fi audio is we already have problems with Wi-Fi saturation in some areas. If you live in an apartment building with a ton of other people, you're going to have saturation issues with Wi-Fi. And honestly, like, if you're in any conference setting, or if you're in a lot of other locations, like, Wi-Fi saturation becomes a real issue. As such, you know, that's where you might not necessarily want to rely on this. But outside of that, yeah, you know, the beauty is Wi-Fi has longer range. It has generally better performance than Bluetooth. You can kind of get lower latency with Wi-Fi, usually, but not necessarily. So yeah, there's good reason to want the Wi-Fi, but will it matter? I don't know. But it's certainly a lot less exciting than a lot of what they also kind of promised this to be. You wonder if something like Thread can do it in a frequency? I have no idea. Let's see. Oh, and Diablo, nothing about 6G yet. Oh, I'm sure that's coming. When they really need their stock to get a boost, they'll announce 6G. Anyway, so yeah, that's there was more to Qualcomm's announcement. I didn't get to read through all of it, but yeah, it again, maybe this is just years and years of Qualcomm sort of promising a lot of stuff and disappointing, but I just can't shake the feeling that a lot of their announcement just leaves me questioning, like, how much of this will really come to pass and how much of it is sort of optimism, blind optimism. And you know, Qualcomm has a bad habit of doing exactly that. Anyway, so I beat up on Qualcomm long enough. Let's move on to, oh, who should I beat up on? I guess, well, we'll go with a light one. Apple. The prices is going up. Yeah, by the way, this is very much a let's beat up on companies stream. And don't worry, I've got a big one. Well, not big one, but I've got what should be one of the dumbest ones coming shortly. But yeah, most companies probably don't want to partner with Qualcomm if they don't have to. Yeah, Qualcomm's not the worst partner. They're not the best, but they're not the worst, not by a long shot. ARM is a miserable partner. Nobody should partner with ARM ever. ARM, if you can avoid it, is like they're horrible as a partner. They are suing their own partners all the time. So yeah, but Diablo, you actually do remind me. I wanted to bring up what is going to be the situation with Google and Chrome laptops when a faster Snapdragon comes out. If that ends up happening, if that becomes true, I think that does put Google into a kind of an interesting position, because on the one hand, why wouldn't they want the fastest, if there is supposedly a desktop class processor that is beating or at least matching almost everybody else, why wouldn't Google want to come out with Chromebooks, or at least a reference platform based on these fast chips? Whether or not Chrome OS will really make the best use of that is debatable, but it does raise that question. And as I see it, I think what we're probably going to see is Google will do a reference platform for sure. To me, there's no question of that. They'll do a reference platform based on this X Elite chip. And sure, yeah, companies will be open to using it. And yet you hit exactly what I was about to tackle. Then there will be the question of Tensor. Tensor is going to be this interesting loose end where Google, I think, wants to keep developing that technology. I can't see any reason they wouldn't want to, because it is their path to sort of not independence, but it is their path to some amount of lock-in with partners that make heavy use out of Google's services will benefit greatly by having Tensor someday. And this, I still hold to my belief. At some point, Google is going to be possibly a partner with Samsung beyond what they already are, in selling chips that have Tensor built in. This is a theory I do not have any question in my mind. Someday Google is going to license out Tensor, or rather it'll license with somebody to sell chips with Tensor built in, and that is a thing that multiple partners will be encouraged to get. I do not question this at all. I think that this is actually inevitable. The question becomes, will Google be working with Qualcomm to add Tensor to those chips? Will it stick exclusively to Samsung? I think Google is still trying to decide that on its own. And will Qualcomm want to work with Tensor? Should just buy Qualcomm. Oh man, can you imagine the regulatory hell that would... Oh my god, that would be so bad. It would never be allowed. I'm predicting that right now. It would never be allowed. There would be... The regulatory challenges would be off the freaking charts. That being said, I'm actually trying to think of ways in which it would... outside of Samsung objecting to it, I'm not sure how much anyone would really care. The big problem with that... Oh, wait, MediaTek. Yeah, that's the problem. Okay, the reason I think certainly a lot of companies will care about this for one reason. You don't want the OS and the processor manufacturer to both be the same company. If you are a company that is also reliant on that OS, reliant on buying the hardware, basically reliant on everything that is coming out of Google in order to make the product that you also make, which Google also happens to make, which is phones. Yeah, that gets really messy very, very quick. And it is too much vertical integration for one company to be doing. I say this as we look at Apple doing exactly that kind of thing. Except Apple doesn't sell to anybody else. And yeah, Qualcomm, you bring up a good point. Qualcomm obviously does also sell radios to Apple, or well, modems, which, yeah, that would be a thing. Anyway, so going back to the question of Chromebooks, I think it's a given that Google wants to... Okay, I'll just kind of jump ahead. I think what would likely end up happening, I think Google will make that reference platform, like I said. Damn it, I triggered a device. Actually, I triggered two devices. Oh, wonderful. Any more? No, good. So I think what would happen is that reference platform would be developed, and that's what partners would likely end up using for so-called gaming laptops and, probably the first set of so-called productivity, or like creator laptops or whatever. But what I think would probably also come of this is if Google comes back around and makes its own, damn it, I triggered that phone again. If they end up making their own Chromebooks ever, I think they'll still put Tensor in. And it's just going to be sort of one of those differences of, if you wanted Qualcomm's processor, you're going to end up paying through the nose for it. That's probably, that by the way, is one of the things that Qualcomm certainly didn't address. They're talking about making a desktop class processor. To my knowledge, they didn't ever discuss price. And Qualcomm is not notorious for being cheap. So I'm expecting Qualcomm's likely to make it pretty pricey. Google would have good incentive to sort of downscale, like release a mid-tier laptop. It would have Tensor in it. It has some of the other advantages, but it's not going to be a performance powerhouse. At least not comparatively, if Qualcomm's claims are true. So, yeah, I think Google would, for a first-party product, they might just stick to Tensor. Assuming that they have a chip that's viable coming out of, again, let's assume Samsung. Then, yeah, they would probably just release a mid-tier Chromebook, and it'll be powered by Tensor. It won't be a performance beast, but it'll have decent battery life. They will talk up how Google services are so great, how it runs Android apps with all the advantages that it has on phones, so on and so forth. Meanwhile, there will be a high-end Chromebook market that is pushing the Qualcomm chips, the X Elite. That's the path I see sort of going forward, and Google doesn't really lose in that scenario. That is a good working solution for them. Diablo, is it safe to assume Chromebooks met passing the kill by Google cleanups? And I'd want to see that. Yes, mid-tier Google sanctioned Tensor Chromebook would be a buy. Your slate end of life is 2027, so they've got time. Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, and who knows? If the thing is, I don't know. Different people have different opinions on this, and now we're kind of getting to the point where this is closer to reasonable. But I've in the past, I've been very clear that I don't think Chromebooks are up to the task of being of making good use out of high-end hardware. Not to say that there shouldn't be high-end Chromebooks. You can have premium Chromebooks that have nice materials, a great display, other things that are just price add-ons. But whether or not they actually make good use out of a fast processor, tons of RAM, stuff like that, that stuff I've questioned, and I think very rightfully. Seeing as we're getting closer and closer to that point where they do have good software on them, because you can now install video editors. They're still not necessarily the greatest selection, but you can. You can get obviously video editors, audio editors. You've got some more options for software. It's getting closer to being decent. And obviously you can run Android apps, some of which actually do take a decent amount of power. So we're getting closer to that point where maybe a Chromebook can actually make use of the hardware. And if that's the case, Qualcomm's chips might be coming at a good time for that. That being said, Chrome OS is still it is still in a sketchy place. Carson, you think 16 gigs of RAM is worth it on a Chromebook? I mean, I think 16 gigs of RAM is always worth it on anything. And I would argue actually 24 to 32 is usually worth it on things. But, you know, I will be the first to advocate. There's not always, like, a lot of people just don't actually need to go too much higher, but 16 is pretty much always a good bet. It's criminal when any company pushes 8 as a standard. I really wish companies would just default to pushing 16 as a standard and then say, look, if you really know for sure you don't need anything more, then we do make a model with 8. So yeah, anyway, that's my theory as best as I can give one. We'll see how it turns out. So anyway, getting back to beating up on Apple, because let's be honest, they kind of deserve to be beat up. So they're doing some price boosts. And thank you to Carson, by the way, for throwing those percentages right into chat earlier. But they're boosting the price of, let's see, Apple Arcade, Apple News Plus, Apple One, the bundle, which includes all these things, and Apple TV Plus. So, let's see. Oh, okay, just double checking comments. So yeah, the prices are going up, and they're not going up by small amounts. Like when Netflix raises prices, it's, you know, $1 usually. I think once or twice they've maybe done $2 boosts. They've done enough of them that Netflix is now definitely overpriced, but yeah, so they are boosting, let's see, Apple TV Plus is going to go from $7 a month to $10 a month. The Apple Arcade is going to go from $5 to $7. And Apple News Plus is going from $10 to $13. And these are all monthly prices. And then, of course, they have the Apple One bundle, which is, let's see, going from... It is going to be $20 a month. What was it before? 15, right? Is that the one they don't bother mentioning? Thought they... No, maybe they don't. Weird. Anyway. Oh, yeah, okay, sorry. I skipped right over this part. So it was previously $17 a month. It's going to be going up to $20 a month. Which, okay, that's actually not as insane of a boost, but they are raising the prices for Family and Premiere also. So I look at this and I just kind of question why. Like, what possible reason do they... So I get it with... Honestly, I get it with Apple TV. Apple TV is kind of holding its own as a streaming option. It's not that it's coming out with a ton of new content, but it comes out with enough good content, and I imagine they have a lot of people who are kind of doing the a few months on, a few months off kind of routine. I certainly recommend everybody do that with your streaming services now. You may as well, because if they're gonna try to bilk you for dollars, you may as well not pay them as much. Yeah, the $3 extra for Apple News Plus is just an total insult. There's no justification for that. I totally get it with Apple Arcade. Though I think keeping it at $5 was really a better play, but maybe they're going to start adding more to Arcade to justify it. I don't know. I think Apple TV Plus, the price point is fair. It's just they're probably going to it, the mere fact that it is going up by $3 full, like it, that's a lot. And as Carson pointed out in chat, the Apple TV Plus subscription is going up by 43%. Apple Arcade is going up 40%, and Apple News is going up by 30%. Frankly, I thought Apple News was already too expensive, but the reality of this is these are pretty big jumps, and I think that's going to be jarring to people who, just in general, I think it's going to be jarring. If they had raised them $1 this year, $1 next year, $1, like raise it $1 every year, you could have gotten there and most people kind of would have ignored it. I think a $3 price boost now is going to get a lot of people to do kind of more of a second take and be like, you know what? I'm just not going to watch anything on Apple TV for the next month, and I can save myself $10. And if I do that every other month, which if you've looked at Apple's like release schedules for stuff, that's not hard to do. Unless you absolutely are like chasing every new episode of a show, you probably don't care. And that's the thing. Like I show me which shows have kind of that following. I think there was very, very briefly that sort of following for C. But C is now over and done. They've had maybe a little bit of following for a few other shows, but they don't have like a Game of Thrones where everyone is crowding around yelling and screaming every week at the water cooler about every new episode. They haven't come around and shown us like that one absolute must-have show. There are shows that are winning awards. There are shows that are, or at least I think there were. There are shows that are really good. If anyone hasn't seen Mythic Quest, it is a great show. But is it something everyone's going to be like, oh my god, I need to see the next episode? No, not at all. Actually, what are they even Apple TV Plus? Let's see. Do they have a marketing page for this? I'm sure they do. Oh, damn it. Okay. I forgot. What was the name of the show? I can picture it. I've watched some of it. Ted Lasso. Yeah. They have Ted Lasso. Sorry, that is the one exception to this. It is the one show where everyone can agree, or everyone is insistent on watching the latest episode. No, I wasn't clicking into that, jerks. Alright, fine. Do I have to refresh the page to get out of that? That was weird. What is happening with this page? It's broken. Yeah, if I arrow over or if I try to hit the arrow, it wants to select the movie beneath. This is really broken. Like, for real, it's broken. Oh, man. Oh, yeah, they gave up on Problem with Jon Stewart, which I call sus. Super, super sus on that one. But anyway, yeah, so designed only for Safari. Honestly, it might be. Yeah, let's see. I'm trying to look at all these things. For All Mankind is a great show, but I don't know that I've heard a whole lot of people talking about like that being a water cooler show. So yeah, I mean, that's the thing. It is a very good thing where people can watch Apple TV shows kind of when they want to. They don't have to subscribe right as it's airing. They can just watch it when they want to. It's a good streaming network for binging. So why pay $7 a month every month when you can pay $10 a month once every 3 months? Hop on, watch the shows that you want to watch, rewatch maybe a little bit, do some binging, and then turn it back off after your month is over. You really don't have a good reason to do any more than that. And that's, to me, kind of the lesson to take from this. Do they still give Apple TV Plus when buying a device? I don't think so. I honestly don't know. I'm inclined to think they probably don't, but I haven't checked. I guess it's easy enough to go find out. iPhone. Let's just pull up the iPhone 15 Pro. TV. Okay, that must be for the part up there. Yeah, it is. Okay, how about if we go to a buy page? TV. Nope, that's still the regular bits of Chrome. I suppose I should look on an iPad instead. We'll just go with the max settings here. No trade-in. Let's see, what's in the box? Do they have anything in maybe the... Oops, didn't mean to click on that. I'm just skimming over these, like, do they have... Yeah, I'm not seeing anything about special offers or deals that relate to TV. Something would have come up in search if it was in there. Okay, yeah. I don't think it's still here, or if it is, they don't mention it. Let's see. Oh, there it is. Buy an Apple device, 3 months free. So, when you purchase an Apple device and redeem the offer within 90 days, and footnote number 2. What do you want to bet it's new only? So, new and qualified returning subscribers only. It's $10 a month after free trial. Only one offer per Apple ID and only one offer per family if you're part of a family sharing group, regardless of the number of devices you and your family purchase. So yeah, it's just a trial. Which is, to me, still an insult. That should not be a thing. If you buy something where you're advertising you get whatever with it, it should not have any sort of trial deal associated with it. It should just be straight up account credit. And by the way, I want to give credit to Carson for what he said earlier. I wish my salary increased by 37%. Hell yeah. That is kind of the worst part about what's been going on. Everyone has boosted their prices by, sometimes it's not even big percentages, but their prices are going up by pretty big hockey stick shaped amounts. Meanwhile, wages and salaries have either gone down or they've only inched up by small increments. And lots of people are losing their jobs. We have the tech unemployment rate is actually over 2% now, which has apparently never been true in history, or it was only true like once in history during one of the .com crashes. Like, that's not good. So yeah, kind of sucks seeing the prices going up when let's be honest, Apple TV, or Apple TV Plus, like, yes, they're adding more content, but I don't see any sign that they're actually like increasing the quality of the content that they're putting out, or putting out a lot of like huge new amounts of stuff. They've added a few shows here and there. They've added some stuff, but is it really worth it? I'm not convinced. Plus, to be fair, I think the stream of content is still staying about the same as it was a few years ago. Let's see. All right. Scanning through comments. Carson, thoughts on the individual Apple One plan still giving only 50 gigs of storage for $20 a month? I don't really have thoughts on that, because it's the Apple One plan, that's not just storage, it's other stuff too, isn't it? It is a monthly subscription. Okay. So Apple One bundles up to 6 Apple subscriptions for one lower monthly price, including up to 2 terabytes of iCloud. Why can't I read or speak today? Up to 2 terabytes of iCloud Plus storage, and with the family plan or premier plan, you can invite other people, private access on all their devices. It's never been easier. Blah blah blah. Okay, so the individual. It includes iCloud Plus with 50 gigs, TV Plus, music, and arcade. The thing is, this went up, it was what, $3? I think it was from 17 to 19. Or sorry, 17 to 20. So if it went up $3 and each of the things included went up by more than $3, or, well, I guess arcade was $2. But if each of those went up by, basically, yeah, I think they averaged out to $3. I don't really mind that it only includes 50 gigs of storage. It seems like as long as you're using the TV Plus, music, and arcade subscriptions, really, if you're even just using, what is it, TV Plus and music? Actually, how much was music? I don't remember. Okay. Yay for them actually putting that all there. So, yeah, if you're using TV and music alone, you're kind of getting a deal. Or, well, sorry, you're breaking even if it's just TV and music, and then you're also getting that iCloud storage. So yeah, I don't really have a complaint about this. It's maybe a little chintzy. I mean, 50 gigs is not particularly sizable, but I don't really find this to be that problematic. It would definitely be ideal if they went to like maybe 100 or 75, something like that. But yeah, I don't think I can really complain too much about that storage amount. It still seems like an okay bundle as long as you're using enough to justify the bundle. What I find kind of cringy is this one. Wait, why does music go up? Oh, because it's family. That makes sense. And then their Premiere. Presumably this one's giving you enough stuff if you're making use out of it. Let's say that you're just using TV, music, and arcade, because I think very few people are using Fitness Plus. I've heard rumors that it is by far Apple's poorest performing subscription. Which, if rumor holds true, Not only is it a very poor performing subscription, supposedly it's the one costing them not as much as TV, but it's supposedly costing them a lot of money to run Fitness Plus, because they're also doing a lot of the content creation. Or they're subsidizing the content creation. But let's see. So if we're just stacking together arcade, TV, music, and the iCloud storage, their Premiere doesn't give you that good of a deal. You're basically just, like, it is a little bit of a deal, but... well, I guess you're basically just getting the arcade for free. Plus, of course, Fitness and News Plus, but... yeah, that one's kind of iffy to me. Also, do they not do a Premiere for individuals? That seems kind of crappy. I guess individuals don't need Fitness or News. That's Apple. That's quite the message you have there for people. Start a family or screw you. Apple going the conservative route. Apple's the low-key red stater. Did I just screw up? Hope I did not just damage my knife. And which I know is a weird thing to say, but somehow my camera ended up sitting on top of a chef's knife that I have. Anyway, so McDonald's Apple commercial incoming. Yikes. Anyway, yeah, so I don't have the strongest thoughts about the bundles, but I do think that the mere fact that these prices are going up so much, like, actually the bundle price is not going up too aggressively. It's the individual prices that I think that's kind of crappy, which makes me wonder, is this a play to force people into, or not force, but to nudge people towards getting the bundles? Because, I mean, if you were already on the fence, really, like if you were on the fence about getting, or let's say that you're an Apple TV Plus subscriber, you don't subscribe to any of the other stuff. Cody filming the menu too. Honestly, hey, if we can make that happen, sign me up. Don't get me wrong, I don't think that movie was like amazing or anything. It was just okay, but I liked it. I did like that movie. Anyway, if you were on the fence about Apple TV, or if you were already on the fence about a bundle, let's say that you were an Apple TV Plus user and maybe you were already on music, for example. The previous price of the two together, it would make sense for you to, or it might make sense for you to just have those, not bother with the rest of it. Or maybe if you were, let's say you only really wanted the storage and music, but you weren't getting Apple TV Plus or Arcade before. Now the prices have gone up enough for each of these individual things that you now have pretty good incentive to just say, oh, screw it, I'll get the bundle. You pay an extra, couple bucks maybe. If even that, you might even get a discount at this point. You pay just a tiny bit more and you're getting that much more out of it. Or in some cases, you might be paying basically the same number. So, yeah, I think actually my suspicion is that that's why they increase these prices so much, because they just made the bundle infinitely more attractive. And once they have people on the bundle, I mean, we know this from Google's Google storage subscriptions, which is now just Google One. But as everybody knows, once you have people on cloud storage, they never delete stuff. People will throw tons and tons of stuff on there, and then a year later, when their subscription elapses, or they kind of go looking back through things like, where can I shave off some cost, they come back and go, oh wait, I don't want to go through all of my stuff. It's only going to cost me, it's only going to cost me another $1 or $2 per month just to leave all that data there. I'll just keep paying it. This is a tactic. Everybody knows it. We've seen it a million times. It doesn't change. My hunch is that's what this is really about. They now have a good system for getting everybody onto the bundles, and then they have this perpetual subscription that just keeps rolling and rolling and rolling. And that's what this is about. Which also explains why they're giving only 50 gigs of storage, because they want you to turn around and say, oh, you know what? I want more storage anyway. I'll pay a little extra. And it might get someone to upgrade to a family plan, especially if they actually have a family or they're sharing with like one other person. Because obviously this is worth it if you add one other person. That 200 gigs quickly gets chewed up through something else, and before long you're like, damn it, I now have to go to Premiere. And yeah, it's just going to keep climbing. And it's hard to fault the logic. I mean, it works. It works really well. Again, show of hands, who's on a Google One subscription where they started at one of the lower subscriptions and just progressively kept adding? I bet it's more than one person who's watching right now. I say that as somewhere in the next few days, actually, I need to downgrade back to the subscription that I normally have, which I was already pushing the limits of. And I do need to actually go through my photos backup and just delete some old videos, because that'll instantly clear enough space for me to get out of the nag screens that are warning, oh my god, you're about to run out of space. If you do, you won't get email and stuff like that. Yeah, if I go back and delete some stuff, I'll clear that up quickly. Anyway, yeah, so yeah, there's my theory on the bundles. Diablo, yep, you had 200 gigs and had to go upward. Yeah, it just keeps happening. Let's see. I'm currently technically on the 2 terabyte plan, but that was for doing the order. Wait, what? I'm trying to go to the Google One site so I can pull it up, and it's, oh, weird, it bounced back out. Trying to go there, and it's throwing me a 500 error. That's a new one. What if I just go there? Oh yeah, okay, there it is. But making sure I don't have something on here that shouldn't show. But yeah, I've been staying pretty much on the 100 gigabyte plan for ages, and yeah, as you can see, I'm right there on that nice narrow little fringe. The 100 gig plan plus, the free storage that I've got built up from doing some of those security things over the years, and just whatever was previously built in. Yep, I'm in that territory where they love to give me the nags. They nag me relentlessly, saying, hey, you should really either clean up your stuff, but more ideally, please upgrade with us. Which, yeah, not interested, thanks. Not like it's that big of a deal to pay an extra $1 a month, but to be fair, it's an extra $1 a month. Screw that. I don't want to do it. Let's see. So anyway, yeah. Okay. So you still wish they gave the free security storage checks? Yes. or anything that would give us just the smallest amount of extra way to boost. Like, that was something Dropbox was good about. Every once in a while, they had little events where it would boost your storage, your permanent storage. Comments are jeez. Why? And they're back here too. Why? How? Okay. I'm going to just turn them off on the share display, because they don't need to be there. It does fill this on this view. It does fill that space nicely, so I'll just leave them in. It doesn't hurt anything. But here, yeah, they may as well be gone. Okay, so anyway, enough about the Apple stuff. I did not actually think it was going to be that much worth talking about anyway. Let's see. So it is time to talk about one of the stupidest possible things. And for that one, we actually break away from our usual trifecta of tech companies. And let's talk about Sony. We've talked about it very briefly in a previous stream, I think. But Sony has done their PS5 revision, basically PS5 Slim, or they've announced it. And what they showed off is that you'll be able to buy a separate disk drive and attach it to your PS5 Slim. And yeah, that'll just be your way of upgrading the Slim to a Pro effectively. Or not a Pro, but having a digital version that can then be a disc also version. I like the idea. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. In fact, I think that this is a really clever idea. It works well. The problem is they have come up with this idea to basically do what Apple does with its internal components on an iPhone. This is, or at least that's the theory. So what some people discovered on the box for the upcoming Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3 PS5 bundle, they acknowledged that to pair the disk drive, it says right there, the line says internet connection required to pair disk drive and PS5 console upon setup. So you're going to have this internet connection for some reason. The theory that has emerged, and as far as I can tell, I think this is probably the most likely the most likely explanation, is that when you connect the drive to the PS5, hopefully for only the first time, though it may, in theory, it could be every time you connect the two, it will basically go through a pairing procedure where it has to call out to a server that Sony runs, and it would presumably check the authenticity of the drive and the PS5, make sure that they're both legitimate, and it will then send you some sort of a token or whatever that gets stored in secure memory, and this allows the drive to continue working with the PS5. $70 separate versus $50 in the bundle. I kind of get that. By the time you factor in separate packaging, shipping, etc., I kind of get why it would be about an extra $20 for the drive. That's not as egregious as some of the things I've seen. Honestly, I'm a little surprised that the drive is only $50. If I'm being honest, I kind of thought it was going to cost more. Anyway, the thing that stands out to me here is, well, there are a few things. Okay, so one thing I obviously this puts an unpleasant burden on users. Now, granted, most games require an internet connection. Most people have an internet connection. This is not a big issue for most people. And if this is just a literal one-time thing where you pair the drive and the PS5, first time, you don't have to do it ever again, at least with that PS5 and drive combination. Okay, not a big deal. But in the rare instances that somebody is, like living off grid and they just want to get a PS5 to play some offline games, then I sit here kind of saying, well, hey, that does sort of suck. Let's see. You wonder if people will test it by taking a drive to their friend's PS5. Yeah, this is one of the things that I've also wondered about. What happens if you take a drive off of a drive that has already been paired to a PS5 and move it to another PS5? My hunch is it probably does the same pairing setup again and just attaches that drive to a different PS5. Hopefully there is not some sort of a weird limitation or restriction that like locks the drive to the PS5 indefinitely. We'll see, but that would definitely not be a good thing. So anyway, but yeah, part of me sits on the, like, what is this going to be like for people who just want to play off grid for any number of reasons. It kind of sucks for that. And granted, you can probably just, if you're one of those people, you just have to account for this one time and then hopefully never again. But yes, there has to be a but in this whole thing. That but is what comes in the future. People are already very rightfully raising questions about what is this going to be like for people in the distant future when Sony shuts down that pairing server or authentication server. What's going to happen with drives and PS5s at that stage? Now, first off, let me preface this by saying I've actually had this discussion earlier today. My opinion is this is not that big of a deal, but some people definitely think it will be, and I want to give credit to their position on this. And I'm also going to totally shoot it in the foot right after I discuss this, but it is what it is. So a lot of people are kind of getting defensive about sort of the archival of games future. Basically, what is it going to be like when someday in the future somebody wants to sit down and just we're talking distant future, the PS5 is no longer Sony's current console. They've taken down the server that does the authorizations. Somebody manages to get their hands on a PS5, a copy of, I don't know, name a game that does not have an online component, or at least it doesn't have to have an online components, and they've got a disk drive that they want to be able to use. Any scenario like that, which already, like, we've put some qualifications on this, you have to be playing a game that doesn't have an online or doesn't require online components. That already limits your selection by a decent amount. It has to be a PS5 that or it has to be a game that only comes on a disc, or you got it through a disc, and it has to be played on a PS5 that has not been paired with a drive. That, by the way, is one of the key things here. Presumably, once you paired the disk drive with the PS5, you don't have to do it again. Therefore, why should you, like, it once it's been done, that PS5 and disk drive should be good forever, presumably. So I find myself thinking that's probably not going to come up a lot for too many people. However, there is a version of this where there's a problem. What happens if one of these two devices fails? you could have a garage full of PS5s and disc drives where one side of either pair has failed and the other side is fine. But you cannot, presumably, you would not be able to mix and match them. So, Diablo, you have older consoles, you rarely go back. Yeah, and that's the thing. I think a lot of people really don't. That's a common thing. Very few people, like... don't get me wrong. I've heard stories of people going through their attics, stumbling across like an old Nintendo and being like, ooh, this is neat. I'll play this again. They play it for like an hour and are like, oh yeah, I forgot how bad the graphics are and how the controller sucks and this and that. A lot of people don't go back and replay their old stuff, or if they do, they don't get a lot out of it. And believe me, in a second, I'm gonna crap on that idea even more. But, in fairness, if you're one of those people who someday in the distant future decides, oh, hey, I really want my PS5 and disc drive to work, but I can't pair them anymore. Again, you could have replacements, multiple replacements that just are not paired together, and you could end up with multiple pieces that all should work, but because of that pairing situation, they won't. That's not good. That's definitely not good at all. And it's something that Sony is probably going to get raked over the coals for, fairly or unfairly, over time. And yeah, sorry, Carson said it too. Yeah, how many people are going back and playing their PS2 and PS3 regularly? Really quick, I'm going to call out regularly. I don't think very much. But are there people doing it? Yeah, actually, I hear a lot of people do that with Final Fantasy games in particular. And not just those. There are a few other games, but Final Fantasy really has a dedicated following of people that happily go back and play on the original systems. And I mean, even no joke, I've started, I forget which Final Fantasy it was, but there was one of them I started like 3 or 4 times, always wanted to finish, and I was playing it on a PS3. It was a PS2 game that my PS3 could play because it was one of the backwards compatible models. I always wanted to go back and finish it. Who knows? Maybe one of these days I should even make a stream of that. Except I don't actually... Let's see. I think that... I don't know that model didn't have HDMI, did it? I think it was just component video. So if that's the case, actually, that would be a hard one to do, because I do not have any interest in getting the hardware to make that work. So yeah, maybe I won't do a stream of that. So anyway, sidestepping that aspect of it, one of the other things that I've heard people kind of arguing about is, okay. Yeah, it is basically the archival thing. All right, so I heard the arguments, and there were a few other angles on the same argument, but it all basically amounts to, what about the people who are just going to have these older systems that may or may not have already been paired? Maybe they're trying to piece one thing from one pair along with the thing from another pair if they have remaining pieces. I'm saying this very poorly, but basically merging together 2 working parts from 2 that are not working anymore. I've heard different versions of this. Now for my counters, because I kind of think that this is one of those things where it's not going to matter as much as people make it out to. The first thing is, honestly, by the time the PS5 is retired, we're probably going to have pretty decent emulators for PS5 games. The point at which the PS5 is done with, we probably won't need the hardware anymore. So who cares about the disc drive? That is my right off the bat. I'm already kind of questioning what is the value of this, because I don't think at least if you're talking about game archival purposes, an emulator is a better form of archiving a game than the actual original hardware. Which sucks to say, but in practical terms, an emulator is going to do a better job in the end of supporting old games. We've seen this in the past, and it continues to be true. Just ask anyone who plays any Nintendo game on stream. Nobody uses, hardly anybody uses, unless they're speedrunners, hardly anybody uses the original console. Everyone is just using an emulator. So, yeah, I just cannot see much of a scenario where this is going to be immediately that big of a problem. Another thing that stands out, and I said this kind of flippantly when I first said it, but I actually kind of believe it. We are talking about Sony here. Sony does not have a wonderful history for backwards compatibility. You know, they've tried, they've done it okay a few times, but they're not exactly like winning the day. But I can't tell you what they are good at. Losing stuff, leaking stuff, having things, let's just say, escape their having things sort of escaping their servers. This is actually a long-standing history. So let's be honest, what is the ultimate reality? I think someday someone is either going to crack the pairing mechanism, or someone's going to leak an encryption key, or some sort of signing key will emerge. Whatever the case may be, I don't know what it is. I don't care. Somehow it will be possible to probably set up your own pairing server that you can just like run in the background, and then pair your disk drive and PS5 together using that. I would be shocked, truly, genuinely shocked, if this does not happen somewhere in the next 10 years. GPT-5 cracked this for me. You know what? Honestly, could happen. So yeah, I find myself not as worried about this as a lot of people. I think I just do not think that we're going to have the catastrophic future that some people are already anticipating here. Maybe I'm wrong. I could very easily be wrong. But I just don't think it's going to end up mattering that much. This is going to affect tens or hundreds of people, not thousands or millions. And really, most people are probably going to lose interest in their disk drive after a while anyway, because, again, you need games that can be played off of disk. You need them to not have any sort of online component, because those online components are all going to disappear too. And presumably you need a PS5 that's also still working. And give it 15 years, a lot of them probably aren't going to be. You know, it just is what it is. So yeah, I'm not worried about this, but at the same time, I can't shake the feeling that Sony is going to eat crap over this decision. And that's the thing, they actually still should. I don't think that the long-term archival matters. It's not a good argument for this, but I do think that it matters that they're adding a completely unnecessary hardware step. All they're doing is adding a step so that people, they're adding an online pairing component specifically so that they can prevent people from using drives made by other companies. Let's be honest, if they're already selling the drive for $50, okay, yeah, I'm sure companies will come along who are going to try to sell a drive for, let's say, $35. But if they could just add some sort of encryption scheme to the drive that when it attaches, it just has some sort of component that ensures it basic encryption, and lock the encryption keys inside of some secure elements. That's it. by the time anyone cracks that, you've sold enough drives. You've made the money. No one's going to care anymore. They didn't need to add an online component. That is dumb. That is a waste. So there you go. I don't think the problem here is the archiving. I think it's purely just they added this whole mechanism that's more complicated than it should be. Okay. So Sony has been beat up. We've officially beaten up plenty of companies today. So let's see. It is 5:20. I'm going to look over the 2 other things Carson shared, and I think that'll probably be the wrap up. But I haven't really looked at these, so these will kind of be maybe very quick items. The first one, Google Fiber to offer residential 20 gig with Wi-Fi 7 by the end of 2023. The catch, of course, I don't even need to read it. I can already tell. The catch to this is it's going to be offered in like 8 houses. Not neighborhoods, not cities, like 8 houses. So let's see. What are they gonna have here? So they previously said they want to eventually offer 100 gig internet. It's now working towards that with 20 gig. Yeah, okay. Check the top comment. I'm sure it's the same thing. Cool. This will be awesome in the 4 subscribers that will actually use it in the 4 locations it's available. Yep. That's, I mean, it's the obvious joke. Sorry, you know, I don't deny I'm not breaking new ground with this one. Let's see. So anyway, today G-Fiber has 1 gig for $70 per month and 2 gig for $100. While these cities have $125 5 gig and $150 8 gig. The ISP says it already has thousands of customers on the 2 latter plans. Google Fiber already offers 20 gig to organizations like University of Missouri, Kansas City, and the United Way of Utah County. But it plans to offer it to residential customers by the end of the year. Sounds like they basically added a lot of backhaul and do not know what to do with it. To do this, G-Fiber will, quote, deploy Nokia's 25G, what is PON? I don't remember. Anyway, which will allow our customers to break the 10 gig barrier that limited existing architectures. Notably, this technology, quote, provides up to 10 times speeds or 10x speeds energy efficiently and without requiring any changes to the existing fiber in the ground. Provides up to 10x speeds energy efficiently and without requiring. Am I wrong, or does that sentence wrong? Does that sentence wrong? I'm sure it does. Another important part of 20 gig service is a pre-certification Wi-Fi 7 router for customers. Which, okay, yeah, that it should. Offering 20 gig service as part of the G-Fiber Labs program. It is part of the G-Fiber Labs program announced in September to explore, quote, what's possible for the internet. Okay, that one's not grammatically wrong, but it's close. It will also be considered an early access offering with availability limited to a small group of G-Fiber customers in select areas. Shocking. You can sign up for access here and have to answer, please let us know your needs and preferences would be, how your needs and preferences would be met by a 20 gig symmetrical connection. Okay, so I don't actually know that there's a lot to say on this. It's cool that they're aiming higher. Obviously, like, I'm never going to complain about that. I do question, actually, I know that it's a ridiculous thing to say, but I do kind of question what will people's needs be that warrant going up to 20 gig internet. Check the second comment. Half expecting a Pornhub link. Perfect for 88K streaming. Okay, see, I was actually going to make a legitimate comment that Apple Vision Pro users will be like, oh, you know, my whole need is I need to be able to stream insane amounts of data into my eyeballs, and you know, that the only way to do it is with 20 gig internet. But no, I honestly do wonder what are people's use cases going to be for 20 gig internet where they actually need it. The only explanation, and I wish I was kidding. One, either you're a business, though they're promoting this as something for residential customers. So, you know, it's kind of, obviously there are going to be people out there who are like, oh, you know, I work from home and I need to be able to, well, the example that immediately comes to mind, and very sincerely, I actually do mean this. The example that comes to mind is photographers that work on wedding videos or wedding photos and need to work with other collaborators on a project, or anybody who's got like a NAS where they have the NAS do regular backups against like a corporate NAS or something like that. These are things that you can be transmitting like several terabytes of data every single time you need to do communications, and yes, absolutely speeding that up would be great. One of the things that stands out to me is good luck finding a single, like, any computer hardware that can actually support this sort of connection. Obviously that's something that's kind of supposed to be, or it's not supposed to be a single computer that's necessarily pushing all this, but you might end up with something like, let's say you've got a NAS with a 10 gigabit, it supports 10 gigabit. So, you know, you could have your NAS backing up over this at the same time as you have, maybe you're streaming high-res Netflix or Disney Plus, while also you've got somebody in the house or a few people in the house streaming video of their own, maybe someone uploading video. Let's be honest, there's going to be some, we'll just say cam operations without getting more specific and detailed than that. I wouldn't be surprised if there are cam operations running on residential 20 gig internet. Let's see. Carson, most of the websites you're visiting, the hosting bandwidth probably isn't even that high. I wouldn't agree to that. I mean, certainly that's true with some, but seeing as a lot of websites, their individual hosting may not be that high, but they're also using CDNs where the hosting is absolutely way above 20 gig. If you're running anything on AWS, Azure, on Cloudflare, the list goes on. Like, if you're running on any of those, their hosting plans absolutely can hit that bandwidth because it's all the cloud services. So they're hooked up on way above this. So yeah, I don't know. I would say there's some credibility to, well, it's not like you need to hit any website. If you hit any website and you pull enough sustained 20 gig data, like, forget it. Like, something's wrong. But the notion that you can make use of this, it's not completely impossible. It's just pretty ridiculous. honestly, this is something I could see, like, well, in all honesty, you know what this is going to be great for? Apartments. Like, a few people go in together to get, like, coverage for an apartment. Diablo, I quote, I have 4 adults working from home. Google, you've said enough. I have a feeling that sentence would more accurately read, I have 4 adult content makers working from home. But yeah, anyway. You also said, quote, I listen to Made by Google podcasts with my YouTube TV on for my kid, Zoom calls all day. Thank you, please. The thing is, I bet I'd be shocked if 1 gig didn't cover that. That's the thing. I'm a slumlord, need to sustain. Okay, but here's the thing. If you're a slumlord and you've got 20 gig service going to what? Within the range of a router, if you have actually, no, even if it's 20 gig service, the thing is, most people can get by fine on gig service, 1 gig. So if you're covering 20 people on gig, you're doing great. That's fine for a lot of people. Trying to remember what I'm even on, but let's see. Can I? Yeah, let's see. Can I figure out what am I on? Because I generally consider my internet connection fast enough for most things that I would even want to do. It is very good. Does it show? Does it show? Okay, here's the invoice. Does it show what it is? Yeah, I'm on 250 megabit, or no, that's all capitalized. Yeah, I'm on 250. I'm on a quarter of a gig, and I'm perfectly happy with this. Could it be better? Sure, a little. I wouldn't complain about it being faster, but this is good. If frankly, so yeah, most people would actually even be happy with half a gig. So you could cover presumably 40 people with this. And since not all of them are going to be using it at the same time, realistically, you could cover, I'd say, half again as many, so 60 people. 60 people would be happy with sharing 20 gig service. As long as they're not all trying to run Stadia. Run the speed test on Google Home app. The only thing is that's going to get a little wonked by live streaming at the same time, but yeah, sure, we could do that. Well, thing is, it's not really going to tell us anything new though. You already know what the max point is, so. But yeah, all said and done, like, yeah, I don't think too many people are really going to need this. Not that I would complain about it. I don't think there's any reason we shouldn't push towards offering higher speeds. Yay, I support this. I just don't think it's actually going to matter that much to most people. Let's see, were there any... third comment, absolute overkill unless every device you have or will ever have is hardwired to the router. Even 2 gig was overkill 18 months ago when this guy signed up for it. Let's see. And the final comment, which there was no way this couldn't be made. Quote, I could download so much pornography with this. Exclamation mark, exclamation mark, exclamation mark, exclamation mark. And yeah, I mean, really, what else are you going to do with this? Live stream all the prawn. All of it. Every last bit. Did the 4 exclamation marks do it for you? Okay, so anyway, Yeah, I don't think that this really matters that much. It's cool that they're pushing it. It does matter. It just isn't going. This isn't something most people are going to make use of. That being said, somewhere out there is an Artem Rosakovsky who is like right now just working out whether or not it's worth moving just to get 20 gig service. I promise you, somewhere out there he is drooling over this. Anyway, let's see. So the final one, I don't know that there's much here, but Carson included it, so let's take a quick look. Alphabet reports Q3 2023 revenue of $77 billion. Okay, Alphabet. Carson, yes, he does. That's not a joke. That's absolutely true. And that, yeah. It's a little weird. Okay, so revenue is up 11% from last year's numbers, with operating income of $21.34 billion and net income of $19.69 billion for this quarter versus $13 billion a year ago. Okay, for comparison, Apple reported $74.6 billion in revenue and $18.37 billion in net income. Wait, so Apple's revenue was... Their revenue was higher, their net income was lower. I have a sneaking suspicion Apple is fudging a little bit more on their taxes than Google is. But okay. Sundar Pichai said, "I'm pleased with our financial results and our product momentum this quarter. With AI-driven innovations across search, YouTube, cloud, our Pixel devices, and more, we're continuing to focus on making AI more helpful for everyone. There's exciting progress and lots more to come." Part of me wants to reread that in Sundar's his pacing and tone, but I don't want everyone to fall totally asleep. Ruth Porat, president and CIO and CFO. Wait, what? Okay. Ruth said, "The fundamental strength of our business was apparent again in Q3 with $77 billion in revenue, up 11%, blah, blah, blah. Okay, just literally repeating that previous line. Yeah, slapped all the fired people. Exactly. I was going to bring that up very much. In Q3 2023, YouTube ad revenue was just under $8 billion, while cloud reported a little over it. Well, we'll say $8.5 billion. Google other revenues, which is hardware, Play Store, non-advertising YouTube revenues, reported another $8.3 billion compared to $6.9 billion the same quarter last year. Quote, other bets continues to lose money. However, it reported $297 million revenue from $209 million. Okay, so revenue went up. Let's say $90 million. However, it lost 1.2 billion compared to 1.23 billion last year. Okay. All right. So no other comments to take away from this. Yeah. Exactly what Diablo said. This is basically just a slap in the face of everyone who was let go. Google's numbers all went up. They brought in more money. More of it was profit. And yeah, a whole lot of that was probably like people getting let go just after they finished projects that then resulted in making money. So yeah, this is kind of crappy. Um, it is, I mean, to some extent, yes, it is a business thing to do. That sometimes is the, I don't want to say the right strategy, but it is a thing you do. You try to make money, you try to save money, so on and so forth. The problem with this is, yeah, they just let go of a bunch of good talent. Some of it probably not very good talent, but definitely some of it was good talent. We've certainly seen a few relatively important people getting cut loose. Not a great sign. And yeah, somehow I have a feeling that that column for other bets should have lost more money. Like, nobody can tell me that they couldn't have squeaked out another, I don't know, 100 million to keep a few of those projects running, or to keep a few of those people employed. Yeah. When you're milling about in the multiple billions of dollars, you can probably shave off, you know, the GDP of a small country to let's say keep some of your employees employed. And if nothing else, and stick with me here as I say this, because I know some people will agree on the logic here. You could do this so that those people don't go get jobs with your competitors. Because, you know, that's a thing. They cut loose a whole ton of people, made them jaded, and now they're all going to look at working for Facebook, or working for Apple, or working for Microsoft. I guess those two compete. Yeah. Google, you made a mistake. Hire some people back, and while you're at it, hire some new people. But yeah, this is I mean, good for Google. Yay, any year you make money, obviously. Out of curiosity, I just have to know. Yeah, looks like that announcement didn't exactly do. Oh, wow, that wasn't good for. Wow, yesterday was a bad day for stonks. But yeah, the announcement of their earnings did not seem to do any wonders for them. It is a rough day for the or yesterday was a rough day for the stonks entirely, making me think maybe I should move some money. Pick one of the companies that took one of the bigger hits. And oh, actually, the company that I probably took the biggest hit appears to have been Google. Which is, well, of the ones that I've looked at, which is where I currently have the few dollars that I have in the market. Okay, so I guess that doesn't really make much difference. Anyway, yeah, so not much to take away from this. I don't think there's really much to interpret out of this one, because, like, very specifically, the Google's other revenue column, it went up by actually a fairly sizable amount, considering all things considered, but it includes hardware, which realistically they didn't sell a lot of new hardware. Like, I think the Pixel tablet was about the only thing that really added this year to that. Let's see. This was double checking the months here. From July to September. Oh, so, well, yeah, that includes Pixel tablet, kind of. The Pixel tablet came out in what, June? Might have that wrong. So the largest portion of those probably cycled through then, but there still would have been a fair number stretching out through July and August. But yeah, so their hardware probably didn't really factor in too much for that. Play Store, I don't know, maybe it did, maybe it didn't. There weren't really any big changes to Play Store that would have explained a big boost in revenue. Well, over the last year maybe, but hard to think of what it would have been. And then non-advertising YouTube revenues. That's honestly, I'd be shocked if that wasn't where most of that increase came from. YouTube has been on a big streak of trying to make money in various ways. And in the last year, they added that new shopping referral thing where basically you can put shopping links directly in your videos. That, oh, Sunday Ticket, yeah, that could have done it too. Yeah, there's a lot of things that YouTube changed in the last year that would explain why their revenue would be up compared to last year. There's not, again, I don't think, Carson, you mentioned the 7A, but 7A wouldn't have fallen into the same time period. Not really. Like the majority of sales would have been at around announcement time. Not in the July through September stage. I'm sure that some sales, yes, absolutely. I'm sure there were some sales, but I don't know if it would have really increased significant numbers. Which, by the way, speaking of pixels, this reminds me of a little quick mention I'll make right after we're done with this one. So yeah, and then again, I don't know of anything that the Play Store did that would have that would be responsible for more than $1 billion in increased revenue. So I don't think that factors in too much. I'm pretty sure, yeah, this is almost all YouTube that's responsible for that one. So yeah, that probably that's about as much analysis as I can think of to do on this. So really quick, fun side story, and I think that'll probably be the wrap up. I went shopping yesterday, just some quick grocery shopping. When I was going through checkout, I went to self-checkout. I was at Safeway. And it was this one of the attendants at the self-checkout section. He was a I have trouble kind of guessing age at a certain point, but I would put him at probably 60-ish. I don't know, somewhere in that neighborhood. Maybe a little older, maybe a little younger. I don't know, maybe he aged badly. Anyway, as I'm standing there, just starting the checkout, and I was trying to scan a barcode on my phone, which evidently you have to use a different scanner for that. But as I'm standing there, he sees this and walks over. First, he scans my phone using the other scanner, which was, again, not obvious. But as right after that, he goes, "Oh, you have a Google phone." He then proceeds to pull from his side pocket a Pixel 7. And it's just the immediate, like, you gotta be kidding me. This... and I don't think he knows phones super well, because he seemed kind of confused when I said that I had the Pro and he had the regular. But yeah, 60-ish year old guy just, and he recognized my phone, which actually I never do. When I'm out around people, I don't usually look at the model of phone so much. I might pick out, oh, that's a person with an iPhone. But I don't pick out, oh, you're carrying a Pixel. Pixels are hot right now amongst the geriatrics. Yup. But yeah, I look, when it comes to finding a phone in the wild, plus very notably, I kid you not, it was the funniest thing. We both, when we were comparing phones, we both held our phones specifically to show the back of it, because of course you can't identify a phone by looking at the front. That's just not a thing unless it's a pretty unique scenario. But yeah, we look at the back, and because of course, that ugly metal plate, yes, I consider it ugly. Yeah, it was immediately obvious which one each of us had. And yeah, he was looking at it and he goes, oh, they aren't the same. And it's like, oh yeah, well, I've got the extra camera. Mine's the Pro. And yeah, but that's how we could pick them out. It was kind of funny. I then mentioned that I had I had just gotten the 8 Pro, but didn't have a case for it, which the moment I said that, I could kind of see him look just a little bit more like, oh yeah, okay, I didn't really want to talk that much about it or something. He didn't say anything, but he just kind of had that look like, oh yeah, I'm not interested in this anymore. But it was just kind of funny that we both or that he recognized this. He comes over and brings it up. It was an unusual crossing of the Pixel boys. Yeah, it was just so completely unexpected. Believe me, I really did not even know what to say in that moment, in part because I was also, when I get into mindset of it's time to check out, like, I'm usually kind of like, everyone leave me alone, let me just get this done and get the hell out of here. But yeah, he hit me with that, and it was just, again, such an unexpected, like, wow. I don't ever really expect to run into somebody with a Pixel phone, especially in the area I'm in. Let's see. Carson, yeah, that is one other point, and I didn't really consider it at the time, but I didn't know for sure if he may have had an A series. Because also his was in a case too. So, it's reducing the options even further. Diablo, wonder how well the physical stores are pushing Pixels. Could not even begin to guess. The thing is, look, I know that there are people around here that get Pixels. I don't doubt that for a second. And I don't have a good frame of reference for the local area, but I have some friends up in Portland. They they chose Pixels completely on their own. I don't know what got them there, and while they are, I wouldn't call them phone people, but they do care about their phone. Like, they're the types that would at least do some research and look into phones. But they're not the types that follow phone news. Anyway, it wasn't until after they had already decided they wanted a Pixel that they first came to me and said, hey, can you tell us, is this a good idea? Are we making the right choice? And, what should we watch out for? And what's good or bad? Like, I know people in other areas that are Pixel people. I can't say that I know anyone around here that really is, which makes it all the more interesting that a completely random person just kind of I stumbled across a random. But yeah, anyway. So those football commercials won him. Hey, you never know. We just need Apple to do RCS. Better together, boys. Better together. But yeah, anyway, so let's see. Before my throat or voice gives out, because saying it the other way sounds slightly pervy. Before my voice gives out, Carson, you've seen a decent amount around Europe. Actually, that's the surprising part, because the prices are so much higher over there. You kind of wonder why some people get those instead of other options that cost less. But yeah, it's not like it should be that weird. We know that Pixels now make up a actual meaningful percentage of the market share. Like, not a huge percent, it's still single digits, and a low single digit at that, but they're relevant enough that, in theory, if you just take a random 100 people off the street, at least one or two of them should supposedly carry a Pixel. The question the issue, at least in this instance, for me, is it wouldn't be 100 people off of any street. It's 100 people off of, you know, a street in San Francisco, and you'll find 1, 2, or 3 carrying a Pixel. It's a street out of Portland. You'll find 5 carrying a Pixel or something like that. When it's 100 people off of a street in Roseburg, Oregon, you don't find 100 people with a Pixel. You're gonna find me. I'm sure there are more, but you're mostly just gonna find me. Like, that's how it is. Carson, you've seen a lot of random Android phones that you can't even recognize. Yeah. Well, hey, for what it's worth, some of those Android phones that you can't recognize are probably Sony's, because I think that's about the only place Sony sells outside of Japan. Diablo OnePlus Open. I have no words. Honestly, like, I tried looking into it. I can't find anything interesting to say. Right now, I just feel like it's another folding phone. Carson, you've seen a few Galaxy Flips and one person with a Galaxy Fold. It wasn't beside him, though. Oh, let's be honest. He probably doesn't still have a Fold. Some part of me just thinks that he's probably ditched it because he doesn't need to, or he probably found some group where that's not good bragging rights anymore, so he just moved on. Quite a few Galaxy Flips, actually. Yeah, I could kind of see that. The Flip makes well, to me, the Fold still makes more sense. I think it's a better phone for most people. But the Flip is so much cheaper, so, you know, I get it. I can see why people want the Flip. The Fold didn't get as much love as the 8 Pro. Well, yeah. Yeah. But it's also the first generation Pixel Fold. That's a really big factor here. First generation Pixel Fold. Give it, I'd say, 2 more generations. And I think the Pixel Fold will actually get, like, serious treatment. Maybe it'll happen next gen, but kind of skeptical about that. Part of it being that they have to get it out the door more than throwing distance from, or more than spitting distance from the release of the next Tensor chip. That's perpetually going to be their issue. They have to not be releasing a phone with an old chip, because the enthusiasts that want that phone feel bad that they're getting a phone with last year's chip. Especially because they're releasing it after the budget phones also get the same chip. Don't forget that. Like, they released the chip in the, let's say in this instance, it's going to be the 8 and 8 Pro. Then several months later, they release an A series phone. And then the Fold comes after that. Wait, does it come after that? It doesn't come at the same time, right? I'm now forgetting completely when the Pixel Fold came out. But I'm pretty sure it was after. And yeah, so you've now got the budget phones that have it. Everybody has it, and then you release a folding phone. They're going to have to move up the Fold timeline, is what I think they need to do. They need to release it at the same time as the A series phones, at which point then people are going to be able to say, oh yeah, okay, this at least kind of works. But or they need to just push it at the same time as the regular phone and the Pro phone. If they can push it at the same time, it'll do great. If they're pushing it after the budget phones, you're killing it. Like, that's going to ruin that phone. Or ruin the sales of that phone. But full acknowledgement, if you're pushing it at the same time, or sorry, if for the first generation phone, I don't mind it. For the first generation phone, I think this is okay. Maybe the second. what I would, if I were in Google's position, what I would do, and I'm dead serious about this. I would pre-announce so what I would do is, this coming year, release Pixel Fold 2 at the same time, if possible, or very shortly after the A series phone comes out. The Pixel 8a should come out when it normally does, and they should release the Pixel Fold 2 very shortly after. And when they do, specifically announce, I mean this. I know this is why I know Google won't do it, because this is way too big of a life goal. Specifically announce, we are not releasing a Pixel Fold 3 for a year and a half. Just be very clear up front. We're not releasing it for a year and a half. It will release alongside the Pixel 10. That's it. Skip entirely. Pixel 8a is a bit of a tongue twister. Kinda. Just intentionally skip a half step and just like basically wait a year. That way people will have it. They'll have a decent argument for getting the Pixel Fold 2, because it will be expected to be, the latest one for a year and a half. That's actually, it's dumb, but people respond to this. Give people that as a reason to get it, and then they won't also be waiting it out on a 3 to come at its normal time. That 3 instead comes alongside with the Pixel 10. And then it has the latest, and it needs to come with the latest processor. Do 2 thumbs up. Oh boy. Did it just make me blurry? I didn't it just make me blurry? That's all it looked like. Yeah, I'm not seeing anything. Did it? Okay. Yeah. Oh, I see it now. I thought I had seen some sort of... Oh, it wasn't when I did thumbs up. It's when I did the bunny ears. Or the quotes. Now it's not doing it either. What if I did... Yeah. It's not doing anything. Weird. Huh. Well, that's another buggy feature. But yeah, anyway. So, yeah. Anyway, on my completely ridiculous scenario that I don't think will ever possibly come true, yeah, I think Google's best move is to make the Pixel Fold line up time-wise with the latest Pixels, with the flagships. That's the move. There's no good reason not to do it that way. Maybe it only does that once every so often because it's not supposed to do that effect. Like, there must be like some sort of a time gap between how often it happens so that it doesn't just get overloaded. What if I... Yeah, nothing. Very weird. Huh. Yeah, it's got to have some sort of a cooldown, and I just haven't given it enough time. But who knows? It also could just be a broken feature that just doesn't work reliably. Austin, you think that they should keep with the June-July release, but give it the new chip before they release the standard phones. I mean, I can see doing that. I get the logic in it, but I feel like that's going to undercut their mainstream phones a little too much. And I know that sounds like it might give them more. It sounds like it would move more people to the Fold, but I think a lot of people are going to avoid the Fold for a while. And if you release the chip with the older phones, or sorry, once those phones become or start coming out, there's going to be less motivation, less excitement for the new chip, because it'll have already been in the Fold for a few months, which should not really be a thing. Like, it's very stupid for people to be buying a phone based just on a chip, but I think it's a reason that turns people off from buying a phone, is if they feel like they're buying something older. It's an incentive to sort of back off from it. They could just hold back features. They're going to do that anyway. I mean, hell, they did it this time around for no good reason. But yeah, I don't know. The crease holds you off. Everybody, almost everybody. Yeah, that crease just really kills them. But yeah, I don't know. I think to me, the best play is still just have them all come out together. Have the Fold come out alongside the regular phones, and then you can do a big announcement. You can finally announce the phones and actually fill the time in the announcement justifiably, instead of just announcing them and really stretching to fill time. Because I'm sorry, I feel like maybe the last some of their Pixel events or the Made by Google events have really sort of been padding sections, and they shouldn't really need to. And if they announce 3 phones instead of 2, they wouldn't need to pad. They don't want people to compare the cameras. That's a fair point. That's actually a really fair point. But to be fair, I feel like the people who want the Fold, well, okay, that's not fair. I think a lot of, well, first off, to really call it out, they're already doing that. Like, if you care enough about the cameras, you're not getting the Fold right now. That'll change someday though. And logically, the Fold 3 would be a good place to do that. Eventually they could just come out with something that is the new Fold, but like with the current cameras. And that would actually be a good time to do it. Carson, you're heading out. Am I going to restream the Apple event? No. Hells no. But I will be talking about it that week on Ramble. Dave Burke did an astrophotography shot with the Fold. Didn't look too bad. I expect so. Anyway, Carson, take it easy. I myself am taking off because, yeah, I can feel my voice wanting to go. So, yeah, anyway, take it easy, and I'll catch you in, maybe this weekend. And if not, I'll catch you in the next Ramble. But yeah, I'm sure the Fold doesn't take bad photos. It's just, we all know it's not up to the same level. Pixel 8 Astro photos are a bit better than the 7. They should be. They upgraded the cameras quite a bit, actually. So that's reasonable. Gotta say, I really wish that I would have some clear nights that I could make use of that. But I don't think we're gonna see clear nights again for a few months. But yeah, anyway, so I'm gonna do my exit as well. So let's see. As usual, huge thanks to the those who have been supporting the channel, helping out. That includes Diablo, Austin, Carson, and David. Oh, and Curvy. Huge thanks to all 5 of you. It really does keep the channel going. And for those who are watching the stream currently and not talking, or watching it later, there are links down below to Streamlabs, Cash App, and Patreon. You know, pick one. Pick more than one. I don't judge. And anything does help. It is appreciated and does keep the channel in operation. This weekend I will be playing some Fall Guys, kind of as usual. Probably some Overwatch. We'll see. Let's see. We are on a countdown to Halloween, which happens the night before the next RambleCast. So I don't know. Maybe there will be a Halloween related joke or two or something. I'm not going out anywhere, so there will be no pictures. Sorry. Let's see. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Yeah, I don't think so. So with that, thank you all for coming by, hanging out, being part of the conversation, chatting with me, keeping me rambling. And I will be back for sure next week with another one. So I hope you all an excellent rest of the week. Good night, everybody.